Hi, my name is Daniel, and I'm going to be showing how to use a few JavaScript technologies to read a file, an HTML file, and get some information from it. First off, we need to have a file editor, of course. I'm using Visual Studio Code here. And also, we need Node installed. That's what we're going to be running our file on. And we need to set up our folder that we're in. We need to set up a package with Node Package Manager, and I have a video on that as well if you need any help figuring out how to get that started. When we have a package, we are going to install one dependency, and that is cheerio. This is what we're going to be using to select certain information, pieces of information from our HTML file. It's very similar to jQuery, if you're familiar with that. And the rest is going to be built into Node. So there are a couple of things that we're going to start with. We're going to require FS, which is file system. That's what's going to be reading local files that we have stored somewhere. I have mine right here. And then we need cheerio, which is our selector. And this is what we need to install. And then, let's start by reading a file. In a file system, there's a function called read file. As you can see, you put the path, you put any options, and it uses a callback function, so it is an asynchronous function, which I'll talk more about later in a later video, but for right now we're just going to see how it works. So it takes the path first, in this case, that. Let's go ahead and say it's in our root directory. And let's go ahead and put its encoding. And we need a function here, which is going to be what it does after it reads the file. The first thing we're passing through is an error, and the next is going to be actually what we get from reading the file. So I'll just put HTML there. And if it's an error, of course, just our usual, I think I've done this before, log the error. You can add whatever message you'd like there, but I'll start with that. That's basic. And return. So if there's an error, just do that. But if not, we are going to use cheerio. So let's go with jQuery's $, since it is very similar to how we use jQuery. But this way you can use it with the local file. And let's load our HTML, which is the second thing we're dealing with there. So let's take a look at the sample HTML we have here. Just a little snippet of what an HTML file would look like, but we have a metadata div and a couple of spans here that has an ID and views. Let me go ahead and put something like that there, and we'll see what we can do with that. Makes it a little more complicated with the comma, but it actually isn't as hard as it seems. This will be interesting. Let's just say there's other things on the page, and we just want to look for the metadata right here. So it's obviously, class is metadata. So we're going to select things of the class, which is dot. ID would be pound. Dot metadata. That'll select something with metadata. There's only one. So let's just say maybe we're looking at a list of videos here and they all have different metadata. So let's actually do each, and we're going to loop through each of these. This will be fun and interesting. We're going to have an index in this new function, and we're going to have an element we're looking for. Let's make a function. This function is going to be pretty simple, except I have a lot of variables to define. Let's take a look at video ID, and let's say, select, and we'll use this, so select what we're on, which metadata we're on, and get, let's see, children dot ID, a class, and we're going to get the text of that, and let's get rid of any white space while we're at it. That'll be a good strategy. And then let's say, let's also get the views. So same thing here, just different selector, of course. Views. Cannot type today. Text. Trim. That's good. And let's say for each of these we want an object that's an object with ID and video ID and views. And then when we have that object, we'll log it. Now, this will not just log one object because it's doing it for each of them. Now our sample page only has one, but you can just imagine that if it was a whole bunch of these, it would log each of them. And in fact, let's go ahead and do it that way. Sure. Alright. So let's see what happens when we run it. Sample.js. And look, hey, it has one for each of them. But there's a couple of annoying things. This is unnecessary. We don't need that. And if we're supposed to be treating this as a number, it kind of sucks that there's a comma there. So let's fix those problems, because there absolutely is a way. The views one is a whole lot simpler than the other. We're just going to replace commas with nothing. And that's actually going to, I kid you not, get rid of the commas. So that way they are just numbers, nothing more, nothing less. And then the other thing is we don't need all that unnecessary information, we just want the number. And by the way, if we actually do want things of, type number, which we probably will if we're putting this into a database, we're going to go ahead and parse manager from that. That's going to be proper. Oh shoot. There we go. Let's do it this way. We're going to have keys and values in our objects. There we go. Except, it's not going to parse an integer from that. That's nonsense. So, let's see what we can do. We're going to use something called regular expression. And I'm just going to tell you, because this could be discussed as a whole different topic. It's known as regex, often referred to as that. And we do this using slashes, forward slashes. And it's actually something that, kind of like selectors here. It's selecting text, but it is strictly selecting text. It actually looks for patterns in your text. And you signify that you're using regex with slashes. And inside of that, you can put any sort of pattern that you can find, but it's really its own language itself. We're going to take a quick look at regular expression that I used here. As you can see, this is a website, regexer, which is going to show you exactly how regex works. Right here you can put in the sample text. I put in mine, and I actually already wrote out my regular expression. I'm just going to show you exactly what it does. So from this text, what we're really putting is just the number minus the text in front of it. And with regular expression, I have the cheat sheet tab here to show you what we're looking at. Regular expression is used to find patterns in text and select, basically, really group whatever you'd like together as long as it follows that pattern. So you can pretty much find this, use regular expression to find anything on the page. But right now we already have what we want selected. We just need to get rid of the vid ID in front of it. We're going to use some things like, for instance, we want to find anything that's a number. So we're going to use digit /d forward or \d, sorry. And we want one or more of them, because that's what our, if our video actually has an ID, that's what it's going to be. It's going to be one or more. And actually there's a few quantifiers here. Asterisk is 0 or more. but we're not going to have a video without an ID. So we're going to use plus, one or more. We're putting that inside of a group because that's what we want to match. I'll show you a little bit about how that works after I show you that what we're looking for before is going to be any character, because, I mean, you could have video ID 1, video ID 2, I don't know. Don't know what you're going to see, but we're going to match any character, and we're going to match 0 or more, so maybe the ID just has nothing. This is really just an example of how you're using it, but we're going to find any character except line breaks, 0 or more of them, and we're going to stop it when we get to an underscore because that precedes the last number here. Of course, this isn't going to work the same way for any video ID or any ID you'll see, but this is just my example. And you'll see right here in the details, it shows you that you have a match, and it says match 0, and it has the whole thing, and then you have group 1, and it shows the number. That's interesting. Well, you can see that what we put in the first parentheses here, and our only group of parentheses, is capturing group 1. Now, this works as an array, basically, when you execute regular expression on some text. It brings back an array with the whole match, which is index 0, and then sequentially whatever you have in parentheses. So let's say I put this in another group. You'd see that's doing that there. And also, the reason I have the underscore here is if it were just that, it only comes up with a 3, which is kind of confusing, but you can see that I'm matching 1 or more digits. So it doesn't really know where to stop. So it's going to match at least 1. And in this case, it can match 1, and then anything else, any character, would be before it. So in this case, if we were at least matching 1, since we have matching 1 or more of the preceding token, we can say that it tries 1 first, and then it sees, oh, there's 1 digit, but everything before it's going to be outside of that group. So that's why I put that underscore there. That means it matches at least 1, but you can see that all these are before an underscore, whereas without that, it matches at least 1, but all of these before it are a character that's not a line break. So that's why it works that way. Also, if I had an asterisk here, which means 0 or more, if I had an asterisk there, it would be empty because, it starts with 0, then it sees, oh, everything else is a character, so it gets grouped here instead of that. It has to be an absolute pattern. That's how it works. Some nice logical stuff there. Anyways, so let's go ahead and put that in our code. Let's see, regex. That's any character 0 or more, followed by that, and in a group we're going to have \d, and that's only because a not even the reason. That's because a D, would normally just be the letter D, but right now it has a special meaning, which is digit, and you use backslashes for those in regular expression. And then, what is it? One or more. Is that it? Yep. And let's go ahead and see how we do the regular expression here. That's going to be another variable. Let's go ahead and call this vidID raw and video ID regex equals, and this is going to be executing the ID up there, executing the ID that we've defined up here, or executing the regex that we defined up here by doing exec. And what we're doing it on is going to be the raw ID. And let's go ahead and change this into that. And then, oh shoot, did I not save? Oh shoot. What am I doing wrong? Oh yes. Because it's not going to be able to parse an integer from the whole thing. Because if you remember, regex is actually an array. So if we just want to parse the integer from this is the whole reason we're using it. We want to do the first index of the array, which is our group one. 0 is going to be the match, which is all of the matching text that follows that regular expression, which is really the main usage of regular expression, but within that you can capture groups, and that'll be the next index, the indexes that come afterward. So you just want to get the first in the array, but the reason I'm getting an error, not a number right there, is because it's not a number, it's an array, so you just want to get the first of the array. Now let's do and as you can see, regular expression got all of that number in there, and it also doesn't have any commas. That's not regular expression though, that's just simple replace. And you can see we're using file system to read an HTML file. It has a callback function which complicates things a bit, but for right now this is some code that's going to at least recognize that for each of these you're making an object and you're using cheerio to select certain things in that, including the divs for this example, and then the child spans as well, and getting the text of it, trimming that, replacing whatever you need to make it a number, and similarly using regular expression for a bit more complicated things, and of course running it in Node. And that's it.